Well, dear comrades, it is the 19th of October. Welcome back to another Drago Dog Walk Talk. Weather's crap. It's been raining here, I don't know, a couple of weeks, that's for sure. Moscow, in this part of Russia, gets that way. Once in a while you get a front and it just sits over your head for weeks on end. Occasionally I get to see the blue sky for a few minutes. Yeah, that's one of the downsides of this part of Russia for the weather. And it's like 6 degrees outside, I think, somewhere around there. So for you Fahrenheit bound people, that would be, about 42 in Fahrenheit, somewhere around there. So crappy weather. It's a Sunday, it's a Lord's Day. So the day's still good. And we're walking and talking, which is good. Any day you wake up breathing is a good day. So, anyways, where shall we go? Friday had a lovely day. Evening, there was RT's 20th anniversary. Met Larry Johnson there and had a beer with Scott Ritter. Well, I knew Larry before that. I met quite a few other people that I didn't know, and a few that I'd watched but hadn't seen before. So that was good. Made some new contacts. So hopefully we'll have some new and interesting guests on podcasts in the Eyes of Truth. So that will be coming as a benefit from all this. It's interesting. When you turn left or right, the camera starts to shake. When you do fast, I guess it's not being able to update fast movement as much. So where should we go? Well, we had the Putin-Trump call, as everybody knows, and the new meeting is scheduled for Hungary. I'm not sure why they didn't schedule for, I don't know, Kamchatka. You know, Trump can fly across the Bering Straits this time, but I'm not the big man in charge, so I don't get to make these kinds of decisions. I would have gone for Kamchatka. True, it's earthquake bound these days. It's but so is Alaska for the most part. Part of that ring of fire, and they call it the Pacific Ocean. So, anyways, they're going to be in Hungary. Orban's, of course, thrilled. The Euro war pigs are going fanatically insane about this. The question is, of course, what's the march route for Vladimir Vladimirovich to get to Hungary? Now, he can go through Poland, fly over Poland and then go fly over Czech and land in Hungary. Or he can go south and fly over around Greece and then fly up through Montenegro and Serbia and into Hungary, or across Croatia. But that does become quite a bit of a question on how do we go about this. The Germans, who are ever interested in getting themselves exterminated, because, you know, start a third world war, and that's 3 strikes you're out, as at least Project Germany will definitely be over for good for that one. The Germans are screaming, you have to arrest Putin when he goes to Hungary. The same Germans, by the way, that said their owner, Netanyahu, is free to come and go as he wishes. You see, Putin, who's accused of stealing 1 quadrillion Ukrainian children, but for some reason they could only come up with names like 300 and something, and 100 of them wound up being in Germany already. And we're not even going to talk about how many Ukrainian children have been disappeared to Euro pedophiles and organ clinics in the EU. We're talking thousands upon thousands have disappeared. Come on, Drago. Давай, Drago, пошли. And that's okay. That's fine, because that's going to the parasitical elites in the West. It's feeding their fantasies and fetishes and need for organs and blood. Because, you know, that's how you do it. But if you save the kiddies from a war zone, then you're a war criminal. On the other hand, if you murder 500,000 people, burying whole families upon families in buildings you've leveled with American bombs. Oh, then you're the owner of the European Union in America. So you can come and go as you wish and never mind the laws. That's what the rule-based order is all about. The rules. We make the rules. We change those rules as we need to also. That's what the rules are for. They come, they go, they change, they mutate. They do whatever they need to. That's what rules are for, if you don't understand that. One rule for you, other rule for me. They're no laws. They're just rules. And rules, like in any kid's game, if I'm losing, I just change the rules. That's how kids like to play, after all. That's the same thing here. We'll just change rules because, you know, it's a rule-based order. Or disorder, or semi-order, or quasi-order. We do as we please. That's how the EU and the West has always run. Do as I say, not as I do. Because God forbid, you have to do something, you have to do it another way. Что ты видишь, Драго? Там просто люди идут. Давай, пошли. So, but that was the one call between Trump and Vladimir Vladimirovich. For 2 hours, by the way. 2-hour call. That's a pretty decent call. That's a very long call for Americans anyways. I'm sure they got another history lesson because, you know, they're relatively ignorant of reality, or they just get the Zelensky reality. Which even with Zelensky, you've got to wonder, how much does he actually understand reality? Yes, rule-based orders. That's how they work. Драго. Скажи привет всем. Драго. Иди сюда. Иди. Покажись. Вот да. На. Whoa. Пошли. So, yeah, the rule-based order. Orders, pseudo-order, chaos. That's how those things run. U.S. has one set of rules. Its vassals have another set of rules. Other countries get other set of rules, and those rules can change. You know, it's a mutating game of what we want. That's just how we're going to make it. So, as I was saying, then comes in Zelensky. And I said, I'm not sure quite how much Zelensky actually knows the truth. I've read reports that they keep him away from the truth because his psyche couldn't handle reality. So he may actually believe, at least a portion, believe the bullshit he spews about how Russia's being destroyed and they're advancing. Of course, they keep... The Ukrainian army keeps advancing in reverse for some reason, but hey, you know, there's Kupiansk is on the edge of collapse. Konstantinovka, fighting on the edges of Konstantinovka. Kupiansk is almost fully taken. Then you got Pokrovsk or Krasnoarmeysk, which is about half in Russian hands, and the other half that isn't, including Mirograd, which is partially Russian hands, is in tactical encirclement, which means it's not in full physical encirclement, but the 6 or 7 kilometers wide stretch between either edge of the Russian positions are swept by Russian fire and controlled by Russian drones. So nothing gets in, nothing gets out. Plus the rainy season started. The Rasputin has started, which means the mud, which means as they retreat, there will be no technical equipment that's going to make it out of there. Because they'll just get stuck in the mud, in the heavy mud, especially those idiotic Max Pro type trucks that are great for SWAT teams to come in there and intimidate the peasants in their little wooden shanty houses that's the average American building. They just ride right through in one of those things. But riding in them to war, I mean, it's quite literally suicide run. The damn things are like almost 4 meters tall. Relatively thin armor, all things considered. They're meant to survive mine hits or IEDs, and have the crew survive by having the wheels fly off. But you're driving them into a battlefield. Jesus Christ. You know, if you want a fast way to go meet Jesus, that's the fastest way you can think of to go meet Jesus. The one that's at the Trophy Museum in Patriot Park. I was talking to the guys that brought it in. They said, that one got hit by a thermobaric, and they were pulling the bleached bones of the crew out because there wasn't much left of them. It was all done, just bleached bones. That's how it burns. Thermobarics are a bitch. They will burn straight to a white bone. Ain't nothing left after that. Not equipment for the most part, and definitely not any flesh. So that's the reality of that. But see, all that equipment, by the way, it sits so well in the black earth when it's all muddy. It goes belly down, and you just can't even get it out of the ground after that. I mean, I watched a video of the Ukrainians had 3 tractors trying to pull one out. I mean, they're big, they're heavy, and they're very lightly armored. Again, if you want to intimidate the American peasant, you drive one of those up to their little shanty wooden house. Doesn't matter if that house is 100 square meters or 1,000 square meters or 10,000 square meters. They're all built the same. Shanty boards, and then cheap drywall. And those things will go right through them. So yes, it gets a good psychological effect. Not on the battlefield. Not on the battlefield at all. Suicide run on the battlefield. So all that equipment is going to be lost. And however many men are going to get out, we'll see. There's probably somewhere around 10, 15,000 trapped in that pocket. That's the estimates that are going. Maybe less. How many of them survive, we'll live and see. But yeah, so that's the situation there. That is the situation there. So Zelensky doesn't believe that, though. He keeps telling everyone, Russia's in retreat, retreat toward Kiev, but in retreat. And all those positions are great and safe, and everything is white and fluffy. So, I mean, the reality is Zelensky really doesn't know the truth. He can't handle the truth. Because if he knew, he'd probably be thinking about ODing on his favorite Coke product. Rather than what's facing him. Or making a run for it by now. Join his parents in Israel or his wife in London. And the kids in London. And say parasited so much off of the U.S. What's really funny is you had Yermak standing in front of a photograph, or a portrait, rather, of George Washington. I'm in good company, Yermak the thief. It's like, they're so friggin' tone deaf, these idiots. They don't realize how that's gonna reflect on the American public. Yeah, there was a quote from Washington that somebody put up. George Washington said, "I'd rather have no company than be in bad company." So having Yermak in front of his portrait, there's something for you. I'm sure most Americans are just thrilled that thieving son of a bitch, who's going to be your neighbor one day, because I'm sure he's going to run off to the U.S. He's got a lot of money stashed away in U.S. banks and real estate, along with a lot of those guys already in the U.S. or their families are in the U.S. and some in London. He'll be your co-citizen. Aren't you thrilled? And he'll be one of the elites in America. That's right, because he's got money, your money. So think about that. He's going to be one of you. At least he's going to be in speaking tours. He's going to be doing advisory, making more money off the U.S. taxpayer. That's right. You're going to be funding him and his kiddies. I mean, you already have for the next couple generations. Aren't you thrilled? You're going to have that kind of a citizen for you. I mean, he cuts a mean figure in front of Washington. He could be Washington number 2 for all that matter. You never know. You never know. But you're going to get to pay for it to find out. That's right. That's right. And you know what? In a generation, his kids will be reading your kids' lectures on how they should be. That's right. Watch. Just like a lot of that rich elite that made their money off of theft, that now rule the U.S. and read you the Riot Act and how you should be and how you should act. His kids will be doing the same thing to your kids. You watch and see. That's the power of America. Anybody can steal lots and lots of money and come to America and be a good citizen, living it up and teaching you how to be proper people. That's right. He's going to be continuing that legacy. Yermak and all these other guys. I'm not going to go through all the names. There's just too many of them. Anyways. You want a treat, don't you? You do you? Huh? Сядь. И вот. Не поймал. Ах ты, как ты не поймал? Пошли. Anyways, so Zelensky comes in. I mean, you want to talk about the feeling of unwanted. Zelensky flies in. So the leader of a country, even if he is an illegal leader, but he is the leader of a country, flies into Washington. Not only does he not get a red carpet, he doesn't have a single government representative from the U.S. to meet him. Not even some third-rate functionary, flunky from the State Department, or even a secretary of a secretary of a secretary. The janitor, they could have sent the janitor to meet him. Hello, can I wash your hands too? And I'll just wash your plane. Welcome to America. No, nobody. Not a single employee of the United States government met Zelensky and his entire staff as they arrived. It was just a couple guys from the Ukrainian embassy that showed up to meet him. I mean, you talk about going through the back servant's exit so we don't have to, nobody sees you go through the main door. That type of greeting. Jeez. And they're walking. There's a great video comes out. They're walking and their support public is there with signs, all two of them. I was like, how much did they pay these two ninnies to stand out of Ukrainian flags? I was like, did they get to shake Yermak's hand as he was leading this little parade of thieves and vagabonds? And then they got to shake Zelensky's hand. I'm sure these two old ninnies had an orgasmic feeling after that. I wonder if they'll ever wash their hands again. Oh, geez. I mean, you look at it's hilarious. I mean, on one level, it is just past pathetic. On another level, I couldn't imagine anything like this on this level. But it is what it is. So yeah. So you can't make this stuff up. But Zelensky had his little talk, went away empty-handed. So at least for a little while, full nuclear World War III is averted. Now that the devil's little spawn there, the devil's own little goblin is thrilled with that. He really, really wants to get this nuclear fireball going worldwide. And, if he's got to go, he's going to take your children with him. All your children with him. That's right. He ain't going to be dying alone. He's going to bring as many souls to Satan as he can. One big human sacrifice by the name of Zelensky. And when you keep putting Satanists and demented individuals into power, this is what you get. I mean, I don't know what else people expect. When his biggest accomplishment is playing a piano with his wanker, what do you really expect to accomplish from that? For him to be? So yeah, Zelensky is upset. The insufferable bitches that run the EU are upset. The Germans are going nuts. It's been a good weekend. So, what else have we had this weekend? Trump has now made peace between Egypt and Ethiopia. That's right. We remember how 2,500 years ago, the Nubian princes, who all, by the way, are now living in the U.S. because, that's the whole thing. These are all Nubian princes and princesses. Yeah, actually, most of you are from South Africa. Nothing to do with Nubia. But the Nubian princes invaded, from today's Ethiopia, invaded into Egypt. And that conflict's been going for 2,500 years. That's right. Trump settled it. That's right. He settled that conflict. And he's talking to Tom and Jerry now. Yeah, that's right. Tom and Jerry and Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd. Yeah, he's going to have that conflict settled also. And Roadrunner, don't forget. Coyotes, he's wily. He's wily. He's going to be a different conflict there to settle. The wily Coyote's just a wily little bastard. So it's going to take a little bit of time for Trump to settle Wiley and Roadrunner. Who else? How many other conflicts can Trump settle? Well, definitely Venezuela he's going to settle. Or rather, he's going to get the U.S. into Vietnam 2.0. And I'm writing an article in Russian right now on this issue. But considering the fleet and everything the U.S. has, and the B-52 bombers are now flying up and down the edges, obviously enough, he cannot take over Venezuela. The country's big. But there's enough there to try to do a decapitation strike, use the Marines to grab the the oil and gas platforms, because most of the oil and gas in Venezuela is offshore. Try to grab the oil and gas platforms with the Marines, because, you know, there's not enough oil coming out, being stolen out of Syria by the U.S. for the last, how many now, 7 years? So, well, they took only about $150 billion worth of Syrian oil, which they're continuing to steal. Because God knows why would the Syrians need it. Drago, пошли. Пошли. I mean, it's only their resources. So yeah. So, and then back up whatever government comes in there. I mean, Machada, yeah, I think that's her last name. Maria Machada, she herself and her little band, they wouldn't be enough to take the government. They'd still have to have some kind of military assistance, at least from some general or other, to back her up. Luckily, Latin America has that tradition of generals taking power. Драго, пошли, блин. Угомонись. So that looks like something they're going to do, coup. But of course, again, I was saying before, Machado isn't going to last in power very long without the U.S. backing. If Maduro's smart about it, if he's smart about it, by now Maduro has got his readouts in the mountains and the jungle set up, his militias. They should be recruiting different militias from different countries like Brazil. Everybody has a bone to pick with the U.S., which is just about every single nation in the Latin American area, and preparing for a guerrilla war. So the U.S. starts decapitation. The main leadership should already be scattered in their depot or in their readouts throughout Venezuela to give the U.S. a nice Vietnam-style war. And this time, you can count on the fact that they're going to have quite a bit of proxy support. So, yeah, it'll be an interesting development. They brought in the Night Stalkers, so they're set up somewhere nearby, probably in Panama. They're going to be bringing them in, so it's obviously going for an extermination of the leadership mission, and probably their families. So again, if Maduro's running this right, he should have readouts already set up, depots ready for a long guerrilla war. It's going to drain the U.S. hard. You know, this is going to be really fun to watch when the U.S. military has to go back to the draft. Because any real serious guerrilla warfare on Vietnam level, U.S. ain't going to be able to handle it with its forces. You ain't going to be able to nationalize the overweight guard. There ain't enough troops as it is. But if you actually look at the way Vietnam started, it's really Vietnam intervention, but the U.S. started with 1 battalion of Marines guarding an Air Force, South Vietnamese Air Force airfield base. And it just grew from there. It snowballed from there into what every American knows as Vietnam. Well, actually, I can't say every American, because probably the majority of Americans under 30 have zero idea what Vietnam was. That's the ignorant level with the education system, if you can call it an education system. But hey, individuals are easy to control. People can't seem to figure that out. The ultimate individual is the easiest entity to control. Herd of individuals is the easiest thing to control because they can't ever organize themselves. They have no support groups other than the government, which is always there to support them in one way or the other. And control them, of course. So that's the situation we have right now. Will this explode? Absolutely. I doubt, very highly doubt, there's enough intelligence anywhere in Washington's power circles to say, you know, maybe we shouldn't do this. No, they're in for a good fight. There'll be another quick victory. It will be a quick victory as far as destroying the government, or at least those that they can reach. Conquering, controlling, and getting the resources, that's a whole different issue. That's a whole different issue. But Washington doesn't think that far through. That's what happens when you have ignorance and arrogance as twin sisters in all of these moronic fools, most of whom have never worn a uniform in their lives, or if they did in some role like Graham, the combat lawyer. So there's that. Okay, well, that's enough for now. Hope you all have a good rest of the weekend, and God bless. And as always, please subscribe, share. If you can support my work, by all means, please. That I've got a Bitcoin wallet set up. That's in the description. If you want to give funds to help with equipment, medical equipment, things like that we take down, let me know also. That they're transferring some amount of funds and where you want it to go. Just let me know that, and it'll go toward the medical equipment and other humanitarian goods. But by all means, at the very minimum, subscribe and share. That's a lot of help right there on its own. God bless.